Very good morning, dear students. Hope you are doing good. Today's topic is model organism. What we are going to study today is model organism. What is model organism? Then why model organisms are required? What are the characteristics of good model organism? And we will see few examples of model organism and how they have contributed to the scientific information in research. So model organism can be any creature that scientists use to study the life. Whenever a scientist do research, he need to choose a model organism. For example, you imagine a scientist who is working on the drug discovery of anti-cancerous potency. So he need to choose a model organism because we all know no chemical can be directly used or tested on the human beings. In order to prove, as in the science we need to prove everything, so in order to prove the anti-cancerous potency of that particular chemical, the scientists need to test its potency first on the cell lines and second on the model organism. And after having successfully accumulated all the evidences, then he needs to get it approved from the competent authority to designate it as an anti-cancerous drug. So this is a very simple explanation why model organism is used, because in our example, no chemical can be directly tested on the human beings. It becomes unethical. Besides this, what are the side effects of that drug cannot be directly analyzed on human beings, but it can be effectively analyzed on the model organism who is having shorter period of life as compared to human beings, etc. So here the various examples are given. All these examples is having some peculiar characteristics, and for that peculiar characteristics they have been chosen as a model organism for particular research. So example, worms and zebrafish which can regrow the missing or injured body parts as it is its natural characteristics. So this kind of organisms are used in the research of tissue regeneration. Besides this, the insects like fruit fly and honeybee are important research organisms for learning how gene and environment interacts to affect a behavior. But not only that, it is a very good and favorite model organism to study the genetics also. The next example they have given is sea urchin, able to reproduce and regrow body parts throughout their life. So it interests a scientist who are working on the field of aging. So scientists are using this model organism because they cannot study or use human beings, Homo sapiens, as its model. For example, and finally, they are using these worms and zebrafish to derive a biological knowledge, and this biological knowledge which is derived using this model organisms can be extrapolated to apply to the human beings. The second reason why model organism is required is, for example, here you can culture these organisms. These are the model organism, example of model organism. You can culture this model organism in laboratory condition, which is controlled environmental condition, where the temperature can be controlled, humidity can be controlled, light, diet and various other factors can be controlled. So the point here is you are culturing this organism in controlled conditions so that the reproduction of experimental results can be studied for its variations. And that is very important. Whenever you need to publish a research article, the reproducibility of result plays a very important role, and the reproducibility of result varies if you perform same experiment under different temperature or various physical parameters like humidity, light, diet, etc. Now, what is model organism? The model organism are a small group of research organism that serves as a proxy. So it is a proxy, and on this organism one can perform the experiments, one can have the results, and that results will be ultimately extrapolated to the humans to understand the biology of humans. The example includes the yeast, the fruit flies. Nowadays they are using this fruit fly is a Drosophila, you have already cultured Drosophila. They are using this fruit fly to study the neurodegenerative disease, and this knowledge will be extrapolated to the human beings. They are using worms, they are using zebrafish and mice. Mice is a favorite experimental organism or model organism to study the cancer and various drug discoveries. Various carcinogenic agents. All these agents to be classified as a carcinogenic agent must be tested on the mice. So these are because it cannot be tested. Suppose you have a chemical and you think that chemical can induce a cancer. So you will not be allowed to test it directly on the human being, because what you are trying to do is inducing cancer. So such organism can be used, such model organism can be used to induce the cancer and to study its potency to induce the cancer. So many aspects of this organism's biology are similar. These are the reasons, these are the few reasons which are given here. Why you are using these examples of model organisms are because their biology are similar to our biology. That is the first reason. Second, although we have very much different reasons too, but here some reasons are like they have biology similar to the human beings. And second thing, this is again very important, much is known, much research is already done, and so we have lots of information regarding this model organism, for example its genetic makeup, its genome sequence, etc., etc. For this other reasons, the model organism helps scientists to learn more about humans. Or this can also be explained using other words like the model organisms are non-human species and they are used by scientists to carry out its experimentation. They derive their results and that results are ultimately extrapolated to the human biological system. The example here is the scientists are using primates to study the HIV, rabbits to study the immunological behavior of human being, while mice is used to study the aging process. Here just an example. The example of drug they have given here, the example of drug, the most of the drugs that we are using that is available commercially on the market, which goes through a rigorous clinical trials, starting with the isolation, the same example, if you have the chemical, this is the chemical you have prepared, and this chemical, you think this chemical is having anti-cancerous potency, so you cannot directly test it on the human being. You need to test this chemical first on the cell lines and you will see the results, and if you think the results are quite conducive, you think this is really having potential to slow down or to kill the cancerous cell, then you need to put this chemical into the experimental organism, that is mice or whatever organism you choose based on your experiments. So the same thing, the drugs that are now available on the market go through a rigorous clinical trial, starting from the isolated cell line to these organisms like mice, monkeys, etc. After testing their efficacy on this, they get approval, which is approval for the human beings application. And then finally, if it passed this test and various another test, finally it gets approval for the testing on the human beings. So this is a human being, right? The characteristics of good model organism. You must have studied the Mendel's inheritance, the Mendel's experiments of inheritance. Mendel, who is called as the father of classical genetics, who has performed and given various laws and he has used the experimental organism as a pea plant. Now what I'm trying to explain you is, you compare the pea plant, you compare the reason why Mendel has chosen, lots of plants are there, but Mendel has chosen only pea plant. So what is the reason? Here, this is the reason how you should choose the model organisms, or what are the important characteristics of a good model organism. First characteristics, they develop to maturity rapidly. So you are working with organism, they should have the maturity in short period of time. In short period of time, they should reach the maturity. The Mendel's experiment, he has studied F1 generation, parental generation, F1 generation, F2 generation. So if you imagine that the generation time or the time to reach maturity, this is the egg and this is the adult. If the distance between this, if the time between the egg and adult is very large, so what it will do, it will cause the experiment to prolong for longer period of time, and that is not recommended. So you need to choose a model organism that reaches the maturity rapidly. So in the shortest period of time, this is the one characteristics, reaching the maturity rapidly, and again to produce large number of offsprings, have a short lifespan. So first you can see the pea plant, it is having the shorter lifespan. So its life cycle is completed in shorter duration, and so this is the characteristics that you look after in the model organism. Second, it produces large number of offsprings. So you can have large number of offsprings at shortest duration of life. The reason, the researcher will have access to large number of samples. The samples is large, and so it can carry out its research very effectively. So you can consider this point, these three points are interrelated. The important point is the experimental or model organism should have shorter lifespan, so it should complete its life cycle in short duration of time. So it essentially means the same, they're developing to maturity at short period of time, and besides this, it should produce a large number of offsprings. That is what exactly the reasons Mendel has chosen the pea plant. Besides this, the ability to manipulate, because you are performing the research, you are manipulating various aspects based on your experiments. So you are trying to manipulate, and the manipulation should be easy. If you remember the Mendel's experiment, what he did, cross-pollination, right? Cross-pollination is nothing but an example of manipulation. So the model organism should provide a characteristics of easy manipulation. Besides this, much is known about them nowadays. Now these are the parameters that Mendel has chosen. Mendel has employed this parameter to choose the pea plant, but then nowadays the scientists are also using another parameters to choose a model organism, like they must know much about it. For example, due to advanced techniques in molecular biology, now we have the sequences, whole genome is sequenced. So if you choose a model organism whose sequence is known, is already done, then it will enhance your research, or it will enhance the information about that model organism, so you can carry out your research successfully. So much is known about, choose that model organism, much is known about it. For example, its genome sequence, etc., etc. Besides this, again this is very important parameter of good model organism, it should have cheap sources and cheap and easy way to maintain and store. Besides, it should not be a pathogenic one. Now another example of model organism that we have discussed is a fruit fly. The fruit fly is a Drosophila class insecta, right? So fruit fly, as you are students of fifth sem, that is final year, you have already cultured that fruit fly in your fourth sem experiments, practical experiment. So you know how to culture it. So if you remember that your practicals, you have cultured. First you have trapped the Drosophila from the wild. How you have trapped? You have produced a paper funnel, and then that paper funnel is inserted into the bottle, clean bottle, which is closed from upside. Only funnel is allowed. And here what you have kept is a rotten pieces of fruits, for example banana. So that fruit fly, which is automatically get attracted to the aroma of those rotten fruits, example banana, and then it gets trapped. So you need only few pieces of a fruit, that too a rotten fruit, for example banana, which is very cheap method to catch the Drosophila. Besides this, you have captured the Drosophila from the wild, and then you have cultured it into the vials in which you have added the Drosophila culture media. And if you remember the composition of that media, it is having the corn flour, it is having fungal agent, etc., which is again a cheap source. It is no expensive thing which is required to make this culture media. So capturing means procuring, that is the cheap source of procuring those organisms, cheap source to maintain it in the laboratory. So all this is very important, and it's very important characteristics of a good model organism which the Drosophila classifies exceptionally well. Besides this, the physiology as non-pathogenic, the Drosophila we know it is non-pathogenic to us. And last point is the physiology and biochemical similarities to the human being. The Drosophila is having similarity to the human beings, and that's why nowadays the scientists are using the Drosophila to carry out the neurodegenerative experimental research on these flies, and later on they will extrapolate this knowledge which will be applicable to the human beings also. So they have physiological and biochemical similarities to the humans, and so this is the reason you can extrapolate this knowledge to the human beings also. So these are the characteristics of good model organism. The next slide here, why model organism is required. So I have given you example why model organism is given, why model organism is very important besides the parameter that we have studied, right? So example that I have taken here is African monkeys. Here the Sutaemaga, Sky's monkey, etc. Right? So these are the monkeys which is utilized as a model organism to study the AIDS and HIV. The HIV is a virus, that is a immunodeficiency virus, and AIDS is a pathological condition, that is acquired immunodeficiency syndromes. Right? So they have chosen this African monkeys as a model organism. Why? So here you can see, because the characteristics of this organism, they are extensively used in the research because of its characteristics. Now what are those characteristics? Why we have chosen this African monkeys for the study or the research of AIDS or HIV? The natural course of disease in human beings may take long time. What does that mean? Here we have examples of human beings who are HIV positive but are not at AIDS. Although those organisms, those human beings are having infection of HIV, but they are not at the stage of AIDS. They are perfectly normal individual. We have the examples of Homo sapiens who catch the AIDS and not showing any, who catch the HIV virus and not showing any AIDS symptoms up to the age of 12 years. So they are infected by this virus back 12 years back, and still they have not shown any symptoms. But that is one example of human being. But if you compare this, the life cycle of a African monkey is 15 years, and it can be extended in natural conditions, maybe 15 years to 20-25 years. So what is my point here is, if you take human beings as an experimental organism, although you cannot take it, but still for studying this, if you consider human being as an experimental organism or model organism, which may take 12 years to develop symptoms of HIV, but if you similarly, in place of that human being, if you take an African monkey as a model organism, the probability is that this monkey will develop the AIDS symptoms much faster as compared to the human beings. So, while naturally course of disease in human beings may take longer period of time, using simple organisms like African monkey, you can develop the same disease and symptoms for shorter period of time. Right, this is very important. They can develop symptoms in shorter period of time and may give better understanding of disease. So similarly, this is the same thing. The model organism, if it is Homo sapien, then probably you may have the human individual which will show the symptoms of this HIV infection 12 years later. But if you replace that human being with the African monkeys, then they may show the symptoms, because the life cycle is shorter as compared to human beings. So probability is that they will show the symptoms much before as compared to human beings. So that is the one reason they have chosen this one. Because although there are other reasons also. So this is my first point. The natural course of disease in human beings may take a longer duration. But if you select a model organism which may give the results, which may show the symptoms in lesser time, in few years, few months, etc. This cannot be more effective in controlling the disease as a search of treatment, as the duration of experiment becomes less, and so the efficiency of experiment will increase. The another reason why model organism is required is the enough sample space to work with. I have one very good example of this. This is an image of a Drosophila. Another reason is the model organism should not only produce rapidly in the shorter duration, but also produced huge offsprings, and because of that huge offspring production, it gives a researcher enough samples to work with. This will also result in a wide range of results, because the experiment is being done on multiple organisms. So it will increase the reproducibility of an experiment. This is an effective for studying genetic variations also. The example of such organism that Thomas Hunt Morgan, the great geneticist, has used is the Drosophila. Now this is an image of a great geneticist, Thomas Hunt Morgan, and he has given a chromosomal theory of inheritance and the linkage. So I will show you what does this mean. The second point is the reason for the model organism, the model organism not only produce rapidly in the shorter duration, but also produced a huge offspring. So the life cycle, essentially what I am trying to explain you is shorter life cycle with a huge progeny capability. That is my second point. And for example, to explain this, I have example of the great geneticist Thomas Hunt Morgan. So let us see what does this mean. Now this is the experiment of Thomas Hunt Morgan. So what Thomas Hunt Morgan did is he has established a lab to culture a Drosophila. He has cultured n number of generations of Drosophila using that banana and various methods to culture it. And he has carried out and observed generations of Drosophila. He has identified various mutations of Drosophila. He has isolated the mutant Drosophila. He has crossed the mutant Drosophila. He has performed various experiments using those mutant Drosophilas, and he has come up with a theory of a linkage, and that theory of a linkage is extrapolated to carry out the percentage recombination, and that percentage recombination can be used to carry out the genetic map. So what is my point here is, the first, he has used a Drosophila as a model organism because of few characteristics. The first characteristics of Drosophila, the lifespan is shorter. So it completes its lifespan maybe 30 days to 50 days. It completes its life cycle based on the temperature that you use to grow it. So the shorter lifespan is there. Besides this, it reproduces fast and it grows, producing huge number of progenies, and these are the reason, that is why the Thomas and Morgan choose this and has large number of progeny at every generation. He cultured, and because of this he observed the mutations. The probability of finding mutation is less if the progeny produced is less. As in his example, the progeny produced by this Drosophila is larger, and so that is the reason he find out the mutations. He identified the mutant form. In this experiment, you can see this is the mutant form and this is the wild. This is the experiment that crosses the mutant Drosophila with the wild type Drosophila. So this is the mutant which is having white eye, normal eye color is red eye. So this is the white eye mutant, and besides this, the second mutation is miniature wings, that is just shorter wings. Here the wild type, the wings are larger wings. So what he did, he breeded the white-eyed miniatured wing with a wild type wing, and then he cultured the F1 generation. He allowed the F1 generation to breed within themselves, and he produced F2 progeny, where the phenotype of F2 progeny, where the white-eyed and miniatured wing, total 750 representations are there in the F2 generation. Out of total 2441 progenies, the 715 progenies were having white eyes and miniatured wings. Out of total 2441 individuals or progenies, he identified total 791 F2 progenies is having the wild type characteristics, that is the red eye and larger wings. So what is my point here? I am trying to emphasize the larger the total progeny, the shorter life cycle and huge progeny will lead to this experiment, these observations. So at F2, first he identified the parental combination. This is the white eye and short wing. So total 750 representatives are there out of 2441. Then another parental combination, that is the red eye and long wing. He have 791 representatives for this. Besides this, the next generation, that F2 generation, is having total 455 representatives, that is having the white eye of this fly and the wild type wings of this fly, that is called as recombination. Similarly, he has got 445 representatives of a progeny that is having red eye or wild type eye and shorter wings. So that is the characteristics of this fly and one characteristics of this fly. So total number of offspring he produced in F2 generation is 2441, out of these 750 is producing white-eyed miniatured wing that represent a one parent. Total 791 that is having red eye and long wing, which is representing the another parent, that is this two. If you add the 750 plus 791, so this is the total parental combination. If you add these 451 and 445, then it becomes a total recombination or non-parental combination. So what is my point here is the huge number of progeny it produces, that is 2441, huge number of progeny it has produced, which leads to the observation some is having parental combination, this is parent 1 combination, then this number is parental 2 combination, then this number is non-parental combination where one character is from this fly and one character is from this fly, that character is white eye and long wing, and then again this is a set of representative that is having one character, that is the red eye from this fly and the shorter wing from this fly. So total, if you add this 750 and 791, total parental phenotype, it becomes 1541 parental combinations, and if you add this and this, it becomes a 900 total recombination or non-parental combination. And if you simply divide this, for example, total progeny is 2441, the parental recombination, the parental here, this is the formula to identify the recombinational frequency. So this is total recombination frequency. So 900 divided by total, that is 2441, multiplied by 100 will give you 36.9, and this 36.9 is nothing but a recombinational frequency between the genes of a color. This is white eye, this is white eye or red eye, and this is shorter wing or larger wing. So the distance between these two genes is nothing but a recombinational frequency, or you can call, according to this example, the distance between these two genes is 36.9 centimorgan. So all these observations, this is very important because the first genetic map based on this method was carried out by 22-year-old boy working with the Thomas Hunt Morgan, called as a Sturtevant, Alfred Sturtevant. So again, coming back to our experimental organism or model organism, the shorter period of time and larger number of progeny leads to this observation. So that is the reason the desired characteristics why they are using this Drosophila as an experimental organism is it reproduces rapidly, it is having shorter period of time life cycle, it reproduces rapidly, and so it produces enough sample space to work with it. So that is the second reason. The third reason, the model organisms are cheap to work with. Here you can see this is an example how you have isolated how you have trapped the Drosophila. These are the Drosophila which is there. You can see the one banana is there and thousands of Drosophila are there. Okay, one rotten banana will cost you less than 10 rupees, and using that one rotten banana you can have the thousands of Drosophila. So the point here is the cheap, it becomes a cost effective one. So that is the next reason why model organism is required. So these are the reasons. Next, the model organism in biological research. The various model organisms nowadays using in the biological research. I will give you one examples like the bacteria. This is the E. coli, Jacob and Monod. If you remember the Lacoperon, the information, the biology of a Lacoperon stands for the lactosoperon. If you remember the structure of Lacoperon, it is having that the sequences of genes, structural genes like X, Y and Z, which is governing from the sequence, the recombinant regulatory sequences, that is having promoter, etc. All that important information which is applicable, which is extrapolated, can is derived by great scientist Jacobin Monod using this E. coli. So this E. coli is an example. Besides E. coli, the Neurospora is there, and Saccharomyces cerevisiae. We have already covered the cell cycle. Okay, now all the information of cell cycle and checkpoints of cell cycle is first derived using this experimental organism yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, because it is very easy to culture, very easy to isolate the mutations. So that is the reason all the information for the cell cycle that is derived from the yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and as it is an eukaryotic organism, this information is easily extrapolated to apply to a mammalian cell, and it is most cited research because it is the cell cycle. If you nowadays you must be knowing that lot of scientists are working on the drug discoveries against anti-cancer. And cancer, it is, if you see the definition of cancer, it is uncontrolled cell division, and uncontrolled cell division involves the cell cycle and checkpoints. So they are using this experimental organism, which makes very relevant option. Besides this, the C. elegans, Canorhabditis elegans, which is also called as roundworm, because of its simplicity, it is used. The Drosophila, and then the mice, the mouse, mus, and ratus. So these, besides this, the danio, the zebrafish, all these are the examples of the model organism. Here, this is the life cycle of a model organism, the Drosophila. Multi-purpose model organism has been extensively used for biomedical research, and like I said, neurodegenerative research is also carried out using this, because it is having easy to manipulate system, and almost every chromosome is known to us, every total genes involved, and it is similar. The mammals have well conserved homologies with the Drosophila. Mammals can be compared with the Drosophila. If you see the number of genes that the Drosophila is having and number of genes that we human being is having, it is again comparable in number. So it is having homologies, it is having comparative genome, and so that is the reason it makes a very good organism to carry out this research, neurodegenerative research. Here it carried out based on the temperature. You can culture it at 32, you can culture it at 18 degrees Celsius too. So its life cycle maybe 30 to 50 days depending on the temperature. Then it lays eggs, and you can call it as an embryo or egg, which hatches in 24 hours, which leads to the formation of first instar larva. This is the larva, as it is a holometabolous insect. The pupa is involved in this life cycle, so it lays an egg. The sexual dimorphism is there, adult male and adult female. Adult male and adult female is there. They exhibit a sexual dimorphism. They fertilize, they copulate, they fertilize, they lay eggs. At the first day, 24 hours, the first instar larva comes out of it. Then it develops, it undergoes a process of molting, it undergoes a process of two moltings, then it gets converted into second instar larva. Again in 24 days, the third instar larva, it takes, the third instar larva is freely moving larva, and it looks for the proper place to get a puparium. So in three days, it gets into the next developmental stage, that is the pupa, which is non-motile. So it carried out the transformation inside this puparium, and adult emerge out of it. So it is very easy to manipulate. It is having shorter duration of life, and it produces a massive offsprings. Around 600 eggs is laid by a single female per day. I'm sorry, it's not 600, it's 100 eggs or embryos is laid per day. So this is how its clutch size is, this is how its reproductive potential is, and this is how the short life cycle is, what makes the system very effective as a model organism. Besides this, much is known. Its genome, I think its genome is completely sequenced, and it is having similarity with the human beings. It is having similar genes with the human beings. anterior posterior axis development is bit similar to the human beings. So all these are reasons why we use this as a model organism. Besides this, we have C. elegans. The best characteristics, what is important about this C. elegans is it is very simple system, and using basic techniques you can study the developmental biology in that C. elegans. As its genome is fully sequenced, it is unique that it can grow and genetically manipulated with a speed, because the complete life cycle, I think it carried out in 3 days. So it completes its life cycle in 3 days, and you know, it is a magnificent creature. If you see the sex determination in the C. elegans, it is very interesting. So all these are the parameters. Besides this, the whole genome is sequenced and it is very simple. So why? Most important, it is very simple system. So RNA interference technology they are first developed in this worm. The green fluorescent protein they expressed in this animal. So developmental biology, as it is a very simple system, so developmental biological experiments can be easily done on this, the cell biology, neurobiology, aging, etc. 75% of human disease genes have potential, the C. elegans homologies. So that is why we use C. elegans. Besides this, the C. elegans, it completes its life cycle in 3 days, and it is just an amazing creature. So that is the reason the scientists are using C. elegans. I will show you the life cycle of C. elegans. It involves the 3 larval stages and it completes its life cycle very fast. Here you can see this is the worm capable of egg laying. The adult is 1110 micrometer long. The eggs are there. You can see they develop in the uterus. The first cleavage, the process of cleavage, it lays the egg. When the eggs are laid, it is already in the gastrulation stage. So here you can see this is the L1, the first larval stage, then 12 hours, the second larval stages, third larval 8 hours, third larval stages, fourth larval stages, and the 10 hours to 10 hours later of fourth larva, it develops into the adult. So what is my point here is, it is a very simple system and you can easily manipulate. For example, if you want to study the fate of this particular cell, so it's very simple. You have to isolate that egg and just put a drop of stain on this cell. The simple dye, you can use green dye, you can use red dye, whatever dye is available, you just put that dye on this cell, and then in the process of gastrulation you will see that dyed cell, the cell which is already stained by you using that particular dye, the cell, all the progenies which is derived by that cell, by this cell, will have the constituent of those dyes and will exhibit that particular color. And in that way you can trust out its developmental biology. It is that simple. So simple, put a dye on this cell and you study the fate and the progenies, what progenies that cell is going to produce in the adult. So this is one basic example, and my point is how simple the system is and how applicable it is to the human beings. So these are the various examples of organisms, and I hope you understand this. So that is all about the biology, how they have advanced the information. Much of the biology that we know today is derived from the research on the model organisms. Besides the additional knowledge of our biology, these studies has led to development of new tools, and diagnosed and treatment. So whatever example like I have already given to you, the new tools of diagnostics, the new tools of drug discovery, the model organism is an appropriate and fantastic media which can be used. The example they have given here, like I already explained to you, the yeast, which is a model organism, sort out how cell divides. So most of the information that we know today, cell cycle checkpoints and failures of checkpoints, that is derived from this yeast model organism. They revealed the orderly sequence of events that cell used to duplicate their content, multiply, process of cell division. So millions of people are benefited with this research because they have cancers, and the drug which interferes in the cancer is essentially interfering in the cell cycle, and so for that the yeast becomes the model organism of choice. Besides, the yeast clarify the genes, how turn on and off, how understanding of diseases can be derived, how the genes when they turn on at wrong time, because yeast is very easy system as compared to human, which is a complex one, and so you can derive this information much more efficiently using that easy system. So now, like I said, carcinogens, in order to chemical to be classified as carcinogens, it is undergoing various tests, and those tests are performed on the rat. We use those chemical to rub or to have on the back of a mice, and we develop and we observe the development of that mice or rat. If that experimental organism gets a cancer, if it gets the cancer, then that chemical can be classified as a carcinogen. So for that reason, how this organism has advanced or contributed to the biology, and this is the reference. I want you, I am really thankful to you, and besides this I want to give you homework. You need to study the model organism, 3 model organism. One is Drosophila, the second is C. elegans, and third, that is your homework, is zebrafish. Thank you.